Welcome into Sportsmemo's betting podcast for Wednesday, June 5th. We got Nick Borrman on. We're talking soccer. We'll also talk some golf at the end. But Nick, welcome into the podcast. How are you today?
Hey, Drew. I'm doing well. Excited to be here today. Just got done listening to your podcast with McGinnis and Chuck yesterday. They were very informative. Definitely good ones. So hopefully I can give some listeners some good information to hear today as well.
Yeah, like always. And you brought it up. CFL is actually starting next week, and that's a great sport to be betting early in the season, especially get some line movements in there, volatility in the betting markets. Definitely recommend checking out sportsmemo.com, Andrew McGinnis's CFL package. And you bring up Dr. Chuck, man. His MLB run is pretty crazy, up over 100 units on the scale. So check it out. He's a high volume guy. There's great discounts on sportsmemo.com for his packages in MLB through the All-Star break or full season. We just dropped the price on both of them, so check it out at sportsmemo.com. Dr. Chuck for baseball, we got Andrew McGinnis for CFL, and most importantly, we got Nick Borrman for soccer. He has a summer soccer tournament package up at sportsmemo.com, and with the coupon code SOCCER30, you can take an extra $30 off. It used to be about $200. Now we dropped it to $99. Now with this promo code SOCCER30 at checkout for it, it's just $69. Nick, tell us about this summer with all these tournaments going on. What's the soccer landscape looking like?
Yeah, so summertime we see a lot of international competition tournaments kind of go on. I mean, the big leagues, the European leagues, run August to May is their season. So we got June, July, and then the first 2 weeks of August before they kick back in. So right now we got several that are coming up. The Women's World Cup every 4 years, just like the men's, but they kick off on Friday. So women's soccer obviously doesn't get a lot of attention out there in the media, at least unless you're a true diehard. But this one always does, and they'll definitely be televised games, so that'll be exciting. USA, the betting favorite, along with France, where it's being hosted. So there'll be a lot on the line for those in the States, and the U.S. is always a good global team, much better in women's than they have been in men's ever. So it's definitely a team to get behind and fun for those of us here in the States to watch. And then we also have the men's team playing in the Gold Cup, which is the competition here in North and Central America. And your team, I call it your team, but I know you like Costa Rica as you've been there. They're playing in the Gold Cup as well, and they're actually up there in the betting favorites. USA is the betting favorite right now, but Costa Rica is not far behind. I think they're third as far as betting favorites go, so they're supporting a good team. And then in South America, you have the Copa America tournament. So, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, those teams down there. So it's a fun month from starting again on this Friday with the Women's World Cup, and then those two other tournaments kicking off next week. And then even in Africa, there's the Cup of Nations, not as highly touted or localized, obviously, with names you're going to hear about from our end in the States. But regardless, it kind of brings a lot of casual fans. I know, some of my friends certainly get more involved into these type of games because you got bragging rights. You want your country to do well. So it's a little bit more of a casual atmosphere as far as the betting markets goes, and you get a lot more action from people that aren't true diehard soccer fans. So yeah, I'm excited for the next 30 days of soccer as these tournaments kick in, and it's definitely fun to research it. It's fun to look at these teams and try to find the winners. I think the women's is going to provide some good betting opportunities because it's not a closely followed market by odds makers for sure, or by many people at all. So I think we're going to be able to find some good value in those ones. So I'm really excited to get going with that.
Yeah, Nick, you bring up the Gold Cup. That was a fun one. I remember, it's every 2 years, right?
Yeah, every two, yep.
And I was actually living in Costa Rica for 2 years ago for the Gold Cup, and I remember, I believe United States and Costa Rica played in the Gold Cup final, correct?
I know the United States won. I'd actually have to look up. I don't recall
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was, and I was watching it down there. I was the only American in this big Costa Rican sports bar, and it was pretty wild. And U.S. I think won 2-0 over Costa Rica, and no, it's fun living down there, man. They take it serious. They're passionate about their soccer, but no way, I'm USA all the way, man. So I hope USA wins. It's a fun tournament to watch, and hopefully the defending champs can win it again here. And I see that you have a free play on Romania at Norway. Is that also a tournament here?
So failed to mention, so we talked about North America, Central America, South America, Africa, but in Europe, where we have some of the best teams in the world, we have the Euro qualifiers going on now. So those kick off on Friday as well. So the Euro tournament is a quadrennial, so every 4 years, the opposite years of the World Cup. So it's actually next year, 2020 Euro tournament is going on, and we have the qualifiers going right now. So Romania, obviously, being in Europe, is playing in the Euro qualifiers. The Euro Cup is actually the second most watched soccer tournament in the world behind the World Cup, so a lot on the line here for these teams as they qualify. But yeah, Romania is official free play here, given out this week on the podcast. And they got the full analysis up on the site. But real quick, I think they're catching a half a goal traveling to Norway in this game, and those two teams are, very, very, very close. In fact, Romania is actually ranked higher as far as FIFA goes, but besides that, all statistical numbers you look at, every game that you look at where there's light competition, any which way you can possibly compare the teams, they're neck and neck, and actually you can give the edge to Romania a little bit. So anyway, full analysis up on my page on the website, but I like Romania catching a half a goal in that game as free play this week. So yeah, Euro qualifiers, that game goes Friday at 2:45 p.m. Eastern time. So good afternoon action to catch.
Okay, Romania at Norway. Romania plus a half a goal, minus 115 is the pick for the free play from Nick. Detailed written analysis in this Euro qualifier available at sportsmemo.com under the Nick Borrman handicapper page. He's also got his PGA Tour Canadian Open package up. It's a golf package at sportsmemo.com. If you're listening to this on Wednesday, he has his MLS Wednesday night beatdown, like that name there, Nick, beatdown in the MLS, and he has his 5% top MLS top total of the month. Check it out at sportsmemo.com. Remember the coupon code SOCCER30 for his soccer tournaments package this whole summer for an extra $30 off. For just $69, you'll get all of his soccer plays throughout July 7th. Let's break down this MLS slate. We got tonight's game, Seattle at Montreal. Nick, Montreal minus a half a goal, total of 2.5.
Yeah, so light MLS card this week, as we just discussed, with all the international competitions coming up. We got 6 MLS games through Saturday, and then they are taking a break for 2 weeks while the players do international duty. Going back a few years, the MLS really didn't look at the international soccer schedule as much, and they scheduled games during these international breaks, and it really hasn't been until the last 3-4 years that they've started to plan their schedules, because again, there's a lot of international competitions going on during the summer months, and the MLS obviously it plays in the United States through the summer. It goes March to October, so they always had weeks. There's weeks in March, weeks in June, weeks in September, and even weeks in October when the playoffs were, that these international competitions were going on, and the MLS would be going on regular season right in the middle of it, which was difficult. You'd have guys, stars. Obviously, if you're getting called up for international duty, you're a very good player. So they had stars of teams not with the MLS organizations during crucial games. So kudos to the MLS for finally coming around, redoing the schedule. They changed their playoffs this year. They're recognizing these international breaks, because it was odd to see, your best guys, offense, defense didn't matter, being called away for international duty while you're expected to go out and try to perform and get important points and get important wins. So, quiet week this week, only 6 games. Seattle at Montreal here. I actually just checked these numbers right before we got together today. Montreal, as you mentioned, was minus zero point 0.5. It's actually dropped now to minus 0.25. So some money coming on Seattle there, which I agree with. You can still take Montreal on the money line, but they're over like plus 120 right now. But I like Seattle here tonight. I think the money coming in on them makes a lot of sense. They're the better team. But in this particular game, I'm actually looking at the under. These teams are in opposite conferences. They tend to play each other pretty tough, though. They only play once per season. But this year, this is actually their second meeting, which is unusual to have two teams from opposite conferences playing twice, and twice this early in the season. Montreal actually won the first game 1-0 back in the end of March. And that was Seattle's first loss. They got off to a really blistering start this year, and Montreal was the first team to hand them a loss. So a lot of revenge is on the mind of Seattle here. Seattle did receive a first half red card in that game, so once that happened, you're playing a man down. It's tough, and once they fell behind with the goal from Montreal, it was hard to come back. So if we saw full strength squads all the way through that game, I guarantee we would have saw a different result. The big news here is that Montreal is not going to have their biggest playmaker, Ignacio Piatti. He's out injured again for about 2 months. He came back for a game and a half and got injured again, and now he's expected to be out for quite some time. And without him in the lineup, they really struggle to create chances, and I think that's what we're going to see here in this game. Seattle's very good defensively. They have had a slip up the last 2 games. They've actually conceded 5 goals over the last 2 games and had back-to-back losses, which that's only 3 losses on the year. So you can see I think it's just a blip on the radar here with the last 2 games. But I think this is a good chance for them to rebound, especially with the fact that, like I said, Montreal is going to be missing their best offensive weapon. And with the little revenge on the mind, I think Seattle to rebound. But I just like the fact that if it's a low-scoring game, Montreal's good defensively too. I mean, there's a chance that they hold Seattle low-scoring as well, and I'd hate to lose this bet on 1 goal either way going in, because I think it is going to be low-scoring. Seattle does have some injury concerns with Jordan Morris is out and Kim is out tonight. Well, they were injured last week. I'm waiting to hear if they're out, but everything I've read so far is that they're most likely out this game. So 2 more important playmakers for Seattle. So again, I think a lot of creative chances for both teams are going to be possibly sidelined here tonight. So I like the under here, Drew. I think that's the way to play this one. Right now, the total's hanging tough at 2.5, but money coming in on Seattle, I think, which I think I agree with as well. But for me, I'm going to go with the under here.
All right, we get a game on Thursday night, Cincinnati at New York City FC Football Club, minus 1.5 goals. Heavy favorite here for the home team, New York. Total at 2.75, Nick.
Yeah, this one opened at minus 1.25 and has already moved to minus 1.5. And looking at this, everything about this game screams to take New York City. They are unbeaten in 9 straight games. They've kept 5 clean sheets in those games, while Cincy has just 1 win in their last 11 matches. They are struggling right now. This is their first year in the MLS, and it actually started off okay, getting a couple wins early, getting a couple points in their first 5 games or so, but they've really fallen apart here recently. But, it's kind of one of those situations where I think the number may be growing too much too quickly here. I'm not sure New York's going to be able to cover this number. Even though they're unbeaten in their last 9 games, they've only won 3 games by more than a goal. So they only covered this number 3 times in this 9-game unbeaten run, and that's all they've covered it all year in 13 games. They haven't lost at home yet this year, but they have just 1 win to go along with 4 draws. So for them, the big difference. They were really great last year, and they look solid again this year. The difference between the teams is offensively. They lost their 2 best offensive weapons last year, and defensively they're still very, very good. So that's how they're able to be earning wins and earning draws right now, is because they're not conceding a lot, but they're just not scoring like they were last year. And to lay a goal and a half with a team that's just not offensively clicking is a little risky in my opinion. I mean, if Cincinnati can net 1, I think this becomes almost impossible for New York City to be able to cover. I think the only score you would see here for New York to cover is probably 2-0. But I think Cincy can hang a little tough here. Like I said, they're struggling right now. They've had, of their 15 matches they've had this year, they have just 3 wins and 2 draws, with 10 losses, and 8 of those have been by more than 2 goals. But I'm banking here on New York's inability to score. That's going to allow Cincy to keep this one close. So, like I said, if Cincy can sneak one in, I think it's going to be an easy cover for them. And I'm not going to go big on this one, and it's definitely not going to be a popular pick. But I like Cincy catching the 1.5 goals here in this one, Drew.
All right, we got one game on Friday night as well. Kansas City at Toronto. Toronto minus a quarter goal at home. Total of 3.0.
All right, this is a rare situation where I'd actually say to bet the draw. Bet the draw here, Drew, which we usually don't list the number we just kind of list the spread when we're going over these games. But the draw right now is anywhere from plus 250 to plus 275, and I think it's worth a few bucks in this one. I don't like either side necessarily. Toronto, they've just been really boring, is the best way to put it, as of late. They were supposed to be a strong offensive team, with Pozzolo and Altidore leading the charge up front, and now both are back fully healthy, but they just haven't been able to get anything going. Toronto is winless in their last 6 matches and haven't scored more than 1 goal in any of those games. Kansas City, meanwhile, has been dealing with a ton of injuries for the better part of 2 months now, and have just 1 win since March, a run of 12 games. Similarly, they have not been able to generate much offense, as they are consistently putting out different lineups each week. So it's just tough for them to get any sort of consistency going, especially on the offensive side. I just think this game has all the makings of just a unattractive, boring, ugly 1-1 draw. I could see both teams scoring, but I just don't see a huge edge either way. So you could also look to take Kansas City plus 0.25, as you'll win on both the draw and a Kansas City win. But I think the money is worth it at plus 250 to plus 275 to just throw some pizza and beer dollars on it. Nothing crazy, just a few bucks. I like sometimes to take these long shot odds on a draw here. So I think that's the way to go.
All right, Nick. And guys, remember the coupon code SOCCER30 at checkout for Nick's summer tournament package in soccer. Through July 7th, you'll get all of his plays for just $69. That's heavily discounted off the retail price at sportsmemo.com using the coupon code SOCCER30 at checkout. We got 2 games on Saturday we're going to break down here. Dallas at San Jose. San Jose minus a half a goal, total of 3, Nick.
Yeah, so not long ago, I think we'd be looking at an opposite line here. But after a terrible start to the year, San Jose has really come around with just 1 loss in their last 8 matches. MLS all-time leading goal scorer Chris Wondolowski has scored. He scored again last week in their 1-1 draw at DC. And he's now scored every goal for San Jose over the last 3 games, which is 7 goals over the last 3 games scored by him, which is pretty dang impressive. Meanwhile, Dallas is on the opposite end. After a strong start to the season, they were on a 6-game winless run before finally winning last week, 2-1 at home against Seattle. They have lost 3 straight on the road and have just a 2-5 away record on the year, while the Quakes have won 4 straight home games, scoring 11 goals and conceding just 2. So this one's pretty simple to me. I think form and confidence is with the home team here, and I think that's the only way to play this one, Drew. So keep it simple here, but I think San Jose, riding the hot streak they're on right now, is the way to play this one.
All right, New York Red Bulls at Philadelphia up next. Philadelphia at home, laying a half a goal, total of 2.75, Nick.
This is definitely the highlight game of the week. These are 2 of the best teams in the East going at it in Philly this week. Philly has just 1 loss in their last 9 games, while New York has just 1 loss in their last 8 games. So definitely 2 of the better teams out there. Philly is actually winless, however, in their last 3 home games, with draws against Colorado and Seattle and a loss against Portland, while New York has won each of their last 2 road games at lowly Cincinnati. But they also had a good win at Dallas. These teams have been very evenly matched over the last couple seasons. They've met 7 times the last 2 years, 5 times in the MLS, and then they met twice in U.S. Open Cup matches. Both teams have 2 wins, and there's 3 draws. So you can see, obviously, over last few seasons, how close these teams really are and how well they know each other, because they're playing each other quite a bit. These teams match up really, really well with one another, and are neck and neck in almost about every statistical category you can think of, as far as possession rate, passing rates, shots on goal percentages, everything. So I think you have to take New York here catching the plus goals. I mean, I just don't see a big enough reason to take Philly laying a goal and having to win the game, other than the fact that they're at home. But New York's 2 hours away, so it's not like it's a big travel here. So I like New York catching the half goal in this one, Drew.
All right, Nick. We got Nick's 5%, his top play for the weekend on Minnesota at Colorado. Check it out at sportsmemo.com. And also the coupon code, guys, you'll get it there, Soccer30 for all of his soccer plays throughout July 7th. We'll include that one. Minnesota at Colorado, Nick's 5% top total here. Nick, let's transition to golf here. We got the PGA Tour this week, I believe heading north of the border, the RBC Canadian Open. What are you seeing here?
Yeah, this is Canada's National Open, just like our U.S. Open, which is actually next week. So this tournament changes venues every year. This year it's at a place called Hamilton Golf and Country Club, which is the first time it's been there in 7 years. So when you're looking at this event, that you can't really look at past years' history, and even going back 7 years to the last time it was played here. Guys, I mean, there's a lot different names on tour, and guys are certainly a lot different net today than they were 7 years ago. So it's hard to compare the venue. Usually when you're looking at these PGA Tour events, you're looking at both, player form and past venue experience. So got to throw that one out of the window here. But the course itself is short compared to normal standards for these guys. It's under 7,000 yards. The only thing to really note here, I don't know a lot about the course, but I've been researching it this week, and they underwent a major tree removal project since the last time they played here. So I've been zoning in on the fact that it looks like this course used to be, well, it's still short, but it used to be very shot making. You had to kind of navigate the tree lined fairways and really place your ball at the right spot. So, accuracy was a big factor, but now it sounds like that's not as much of a worry here. And a lot of people are suggesting that, distance is more important now, because you can almost, I don't want to say hit it anywhere, but you're a lot less likely to get into trouble. And you're better off just trying to smash it as far as you can and get the shortest club into your hand to hit into the green. So definitely distance is something to keep in mind for this week. And then their greens, they have a mix of Poa and bentgrass greens. And for any golfers out there that are listening, those grasses, they're big time different, and guys, they grow at different speeds. So when you get into the afternoon play, you're going to actually notice these greens starting to become a little bumpy. So guys that are normally known as great putters probably aren't, really don't have much of an edge this week. I'd be looking at guys that are statistically, guys that hit close to the green, or close to the flags, and have the best proximity to the hole. So this week, a couple guys I like are Scott Piercy, Sergio Garcia, and Corey Connors. Like we talked about last week, I'm looking at all these guys as top 20 plays. Piercy is the defending champ here, and that means he's the defending champ last time it was played here 7 years ago. But more importantly, he's been playing very well this season. He's got 6 top 10s and has 4 top 20 finishes in his last 5 starts. He's currently listed at plus 140 to finish top 20, so I think there's good value on him. Sergio is a guy known for performing very well on these shorter classic venues with very small greens, and he has been playing up and down. In his last 5 tournaments, he missed both cuts at the majors, but the other 3 events, he has all top 5 finishes. So he ranks really high right now on the tour in strokes gained tee to green, which means he's just solid off the tee and onto the green. And he's always been known as one of the better ball strikers on tour. And he's 12th right now in adjusted scoring this year. So he's at plus 125 for a top 20 finish. And then Corey Connors is he's more of a long shot this week. He's a local Canadian native. He's plus 400 right now for a top 20 finish. But he's got all the stats to post a strong finish at this place. He's 6th on the tour in greens and regulation. He's 1st in proximity to the hole, which is what I was mentioning, talking about the greens before. And he's 16th in strokes gained tee to green. So he's definitely worth a few bucks at that price, in my opinion. When it comes to taking these top 20s or top 10s, you got to find guys that have value. I mean, the big names, guys like Dustin Johnson this week, he's minus 375 to finish top 20. So, I mean, there's always a handful of the big names out there you can't really even look at to bet this way. You could really only take them to win. And I think Dustin's plus 500 to win. I mean, that's to win the event at only plus 500, I think is just terrible, terrible odds. So I like to look for guys that have good value to have a good week. And I think those are 3 guys this week. So last week, the 3 guys we previewed, none of them did finish the top 20. They were close. Sabatini He was the long shot last week. He finished tied for 27th. Gary Woodland was in the top 20 after 3 rounds before just playing awful on Sunday, and then Kuchar just had a bad week who missed the cut. So hopefully we can rebound this week with some winners for the listeners out there. But I like Sergio Garcia, Corey Connors, and Scott Piercy this week, all at top 20 finishes.
All right, 3 names there for North of the Border on the PGA Tournament. We'll be back next Wednesday talking the U.S. Open with Nick Borrman. And guys, check out his free play on sportsmemo.com. Don't forget about that summer soccer tournament package and the coupon code SOCCER30 at checkout. We'll take an extra $30 off, $69. You'll get all of his plays through July 7th. So check it out at sportsmemo.com. Nick, thanks for the time. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Best of luck with your bets.